I guess I will just call the meeting to order. Welcome everyone to Ashland Planning Board meeting Thursday, March 26th. The meeting is just on Zoom this evening, but it is on Zoom and being recorded. So I will call the meeting to order at 7:18. And the first item on our agenda is Chair Clerk's report. I have not prepared one for tonight, so we're going to get right to business. Our next item is public comment. I'll open it up for 2 minutes per person public comment if anyone is here for that purpose. This would be public comment, typically not associated with one of the projects we have on the agenda. If you have a public comment, you can raise your hand. Seeing none, and since we don't have a room, we will go on with the agenda. All right, item number 4, public hearings. The first one on our agenda is 55 Tilton Avenue. This one is being continued. They have asked for a continuance. Jasmine, when did they ask for that to be continued to?
April 9th.
Okay. April 9th. So does anyone have any questions about that before we continue it? I think they're still waiting to get more comments from GCG and maybe other consultants. Is that right, Jasmine?
Yes, it's a different peer review consultant, but yes, they are still going through comments from them.
Okay, so basically people trying to take care of those things before bringing their team in front of the board. So makes sense. All right, so I'm sorry, you said April 9th?
Yes, please.
Okay, I will make a motion that we continue 55 Tilton Avenue special permit and site plan review to April 9th. Is there a second?
Second that.
All right, and a roll call vote.
Deepa Venkatai.
Anna's not here, so.
Scott votes here, aye.
Paul Montesino, aye.
Oh, and I guess that would be actually not me, but Angel.
Oh, that's right. Angel Kazadian, aye.
All right, so that is continued to April 9th. Typically, for those in the audience, that is a public hearing from which I am recusing myself. So, but as Anna's not here, I will did the chair thing. Okay, so next on our agenda is 240 to 260 Pleasant Street. This is the proposed soccer fields at Metro. I want to say Metro West, and that's not. What name am I looking for here? Oh, Metro West Facilities. Yep. Okay, so I wasn't crazy. And it has been a little while since we saw this project. I believe it was end of July. Welcome back, Wayne.
Thanks for having me back.
And I believe that was due to some changes in the architect.
There were a few changes that, well, just for the record, Madam Chair, Wayne Bellick Land Design Collaborative. I'm here on behalf of Metro West Academy and Connect Church. Joining me tonight is Roger Martin. He is with the church. He's the site contractor with Greenleaf Landscaping. They're going to be doing the site work on the project. So, Madam Chair, yeah, there were a few things that had occurred. I think when we last met, there were a number of things going on both sides of the table. You guys were going through a transition with your planner and then assistant planner. Few changes to the board, so it's nice to meet new members of the board. I remember Deepa on the board, and Steve may have been on the board, I think.
Scott, I think,
Scott,
had just
that's right.
started. Yep.
Yeah. And so there were a few changes there. And yes, on our side. So part of the thing that was going on our side, well, first of all, Reverend Jerry Schertzer is no longer with the church. He's moved back home to Pennsylvania. And so they've got some other folks that are running the show over there. So with that, there was also some discussion as to what they were going to do, whether or not it was going to be a synthetic field or a turf field. They had gone back and forth with that, and then it was decided that it would be a turf field, synthetic turf field. During that time as well, there was a question as to whether or not they wanted to have another peer review consultant do the project. So there was a little delay from the church's end in authorizing the work for GCG, who, by the way, I think did a tremendous job on this project. I say this as a fellow peer reviewer. So, but with that said, yes, that's been the delay. When I heard that the other meeting was continued, I thought to myself, dear God, they've done this quite a bit with us, and it's nice to be back. So with that, so there have been some changes. As you know, we had gone through the process with design review, and they issued their approval on the project. As part of that, if the board would like, I don't know if the board has seen the video flyover we created, which is pretty impressive and probably a good way to get a good visual as to how it's going to look when it's done. We can show
Yeah,
that at time of lots in the end, but with that, I can jump right into the project. There were a couple changes as a result of the correspondence with GCG.
Yeah, let me
yep.
just hold up just a second, just so you're aware. You said you obviously remembered me and Deepa, Scott, who is new on the board. Anna won't be here for this section of the project, but she has seen the project before. And new on the board is Paul Montesino, who is in his car, but is here too. And I don't think he has seen the project before. And Angel Kazadian, who is our associate member on the board and also an architect. So she won't be a voting member of this project, but she does offer an input to the project and to the board.
Terrific.
So so yes, it is a great idea to have, even though you've done this a few times now, but to have an overview of the project.
Sure.
And I was reading in the GCG report about this flyover. I'm like, oh, I don't think we've gotten a chance to see that. So I think that would be very helpful
pretty
as
cool.
well.
It's pretty cool. I credit our landscape architects in the office. It's amazing with what they can do. Sometimes it's funny when I find out that I'm wearing different clothes with this face with what they do with AI today with these technical guys in the office. It's pretty funny. But if you'd like, I can crank out the plans. I'll make this brief, as you said, if that works for you, Madam Chair, and the board. I've been through this a few times, so if you allow me to share my screen.
You should be all set too.
All right, thank you. How are we looking? You folks see it?
Yes.
Terrific. I will pull this baby over to the side here. So the site located at 240 and 260 Pleasant Street. On the locus map, we have Connect Church here, Metro West Christian Academy here. There's an industrial building here, the Albany Boston Railroad behind the site, and residential properties across the street. It's located in the industrial district and the groundwater use restriction overlay district. The existing conditions for the site are here. Basically, what we have is a 1.9 acre site comprised of 2 parcels in common ownership. Frontage is a total of 325 feet, plus or minus. Access to the property is through Connect Church and Metro West Christian Academy. This is a dedicated one-way out for these folks. And they have a gravel parking lot over in this area here. The parking lot can accommodate 30 spaces with having a comfortable 24-foot maneuvering aisle. They're unmarked, but it can accommodate 30 spaces. Topography on site, as you can see from the contours, is very flat. We have a couple depressions. We have a couple, it undulates slightly throughout the site, a couple depressions and a couple little 2-foot mounds on the project. Generally, stormwater runs off in this direction to the northeast, to the southeast, and to the east. The site is vegetated with a combination of evergreens and deciduous, primarily deciduous, and there's a lot of dense undergrowth underneath, very dense, and briars and the like. The property also contains a buffer zone, 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland to the south. That's located in here. None of the work being proposed is located within that buffer zone. You see these symbols here. These are test pits that were necessary for the purposes of performing the stormwater analysis. What we found out here is the federal EPA, or I'm sorry, the NRCS, National Resource Conservation Service, has data files on these types of soils, and they map this area as a hydrologic soil group A, a well-draining, sandy, gravelly type soil. Our soil observations out here found that to be consistent. On site, you see these three little guys here. These are wells. These are monitoring wells. As you folks are aware, years ago, Nyanza had a contamination into the town's aquifer, and it resulted in a Superfund. It became a Superfund site. Part of their plume did expand onto this property. As minor as it was for the contamination levels of the trichloroethylite, it was still present on the site. The federal EPA got involved in it, as did the Mass DEP, and they have deemed this site now, after some mitigation, that the site is now suitable for this type of use. The levels of this trichloroethylite were at depths of about 70 to 80 feet, based on what we've read and based on our correspondence with the feds in the state. So with that, like I said, that's basically the site. No wetlands on site, and like I said, the traffic patterns come out in this direction. North for the presentation, folks, is straight up the sheet. I should have mentioned that earlier. So, as with every project, we start with an erosion sediment control plan and a site preparation plan. So that would start with the clearing of the trees around the limit of the proposed soccer field and parking area. As shown here, you will note that we did not intrude into this area, these are to be maintained and protected as designated by the M&P. And we're proposing an orange construction fence around that area that is to remain in place throughout construction and to the very end. We have, after we have the areas cleared before grubbing, the erosion and sediment control measures would be installed along the edges, as well as providing silt sacks, erosion sediment control measures in the down gradient catch basins. When we do a project like this, it also includes an anti-tracking pad out at the beginning of the construction site. This is essentially trap rock, 3 to 4 inch trap rock, and the infill on that is 1.5 inch stone, so tires on the construction vehicles don't pop when exiting the site. The purpose of this is to remove all sediments before they get out onto the travel way. So again, the benefit of these is any sediment-laden waters that may make its way out onto the road are intercepted here before it makes its way to a downstream resource area. So the site, pretty straightforward. We're going to have, as part of the design, a sediment basin down in here. It's the lower portion of the site. Diversion channels, which are demarked by this here and this, so that during construction, as they're doing site work, if we get a heavy rain and soils start to migrate, they're intercepted in these diversion channels and make its way down into the sediment basin. The benefit to these types of soils is that the likelihood that you're going to get any migrating soils when the site is stripped is pretty much slim to none. So with that is the proposed layout of the site prep. That we'll have a construction trailer on site. Vehicle fueling is going to be located up here as far away from the 100-foot buffer zone as possible. We then move into the layout materials plan. Now, Madam Chair, when we met before, we were looking at, when we started this process, a couple things had changed. One, We started with the natural turf field, which has now gone in synthetic turf. We started with, if you recall, a crushed stone parking lot. And what we were doing there is we were looking to utilize the voids in the stone to detain or basically retain water on site and infiltrate it. After working with GCG on this, we had a differing opinion as to how to design the drainage system on this. After further discussion with the client said, you know what? It's probably going to be a nightmare trying to maintain the stone. Why don't we just pave it? So we proposed a paved parking lot now. A couple other things came out of that as well for paving. But because we went with a paved parking lot, we're looking at a closed drainage system rather than the open swale drainage system that we had before. The other thing that came out of this, Madam Chair, was comments made from the building inspector and from GCG about accessibility, handicap accessibility to the property. Initially, we had proposed a couple parking spaces here that were going to be paved, and we looked at paving this. So the only pavement on the property before was here, here, and here. We have since decided to pave the whole thing to make the concerns about accessibility routes to the building, to and from the building. We're looking to eliminate that. We've increased it to 3 parking spaces where we have a sidewalk that comes from here to here and heads back over to Connect Church. And at the head end of these parking spaces, because the pavement is flush with the sidewalk, we're putting wheel stops in here, concrete wheel stops, which will be anchored to the pavement for the summer months. Again, at this end, we have an emergency vehicle. So parking spots, dedicated signage is posted there for the purposes of citing an ambulance here during soccer matches. It is locked by a gate and a knock spot, not a gate, a chain on bollards with a Knox box containing the key to unlock it. The traffic patterns, unlike the previous design, we originally looked at, they originally had the one direction coming out of the site. It is now a 2-way traffic access into the site. This was part of the discussions with the town, excuse me, and with GCG. There is a sign proposed out at the site identifying it as the recreational field for Metro West Christian Academy. Trees are being proposed along the site, around the perimeter of the parking lot, meeting the requirements of the town. We do have a playground area in here as well. We're looking to loam and seed that. That was originally a rubber-coated surface. The church was thinking that they would do a rubber-coated surface there for the parents with kids. And they have since decided rather than do that, it's just going to be a lawn, no equipment on it, no playground equipment or anything. So it's just going to be a lawn. Around the perimeter of the site, we have a chain link fence along this edge, which will connect to the chain link fence along the back. Because it is a soccer field, there is a soccer fence that is required at the ends of these fields. Those are 20-foot high, and that would extend from here over to here and make a return to here. Alvaro, as you recall, Madam Chair, was a soccer player, so he was instrumental in those discussions. At the opposite end of the field, we have the same thing. Soccer netting here, 20-foot high. They are proposing light fixtures at the corners of the soccer fields. These light fixtures are LED fixtures, night sky compliant, with these fixtures out at the street, provided with light shields is not to shine onto the residences across the street. We're also proposing one light fixture out in the parking lot. There will be some ambient lighting from the street that's going to shine here. As you know, it's an illuminated street. So when we came up with this, the spillage out into the street is very minor, and we'll look at that in a second. So that's the layout materials plan. Now the grading and drainage plan, pretty straightforward. We do have our synthetic turf soccer field here around the edges of it. Out in here is going to be loamed and seeded. Again, area is going to be maintained and protected. We are looking at a different type of stormwater management system. So unlike before, where we were looking at swales on either side of the field, because we have a paved system and we're proposing a bituminous concrete curb, we need to capture the stormwater runoff. So we have a double grade hooded deep sump catch basin here, which is going to discharge into this stormwater system, which is a pipe and stone system. We also have another catch basin at the other end of the parking lot, both located in the low points, which will also discharge into the system. As I said earlier, we've had the benefit with both the soils and the way we've graded the site as not to allow any stormwater runoff to leave the site. There's no stormwater volume leaving the site. There's no stormwater runoff. So there's no increase. Everything's going right into the ground, which is good. It's groundwater recharge. This is what you want to do in development. So with that, we do have the synthetic turf field. The synthetic turf field consists of again, the synthetic turf with a border to separate the grass from the synthetic turf to prevent, it serves as a weed block. And then under the synthetic turf field, we're going to have a foot of stone that's going to cover the entire area. That stone is going to serve as the drainage system. From this, we go into our utility plan. You had mentioned, Madam Chair, or somebody, I think it was you, maybe mentioned the irrigation and that. So in this particular case here, we are proposing a water line for irrigation purposes, and that would only be for this area if they decide to install it. The likelihood of them installing it, probably slim to none, but at least they making it active, that is. But during construction, they're going to consider installing it, leaving it, capping it at the end, and then connect it inside if they decide to ever use it. The same thing will apply to the underground electric. What they're proposing here is the light poles may come after the fact, they may come up front, but they are going to provide electrical conduit around the entire perimeter and set it up to pull wire if they decide to go with light poles. They're not exactly sure if they're going to do that. They don't know if they're going to have soccer play only during the day. So that is still open at this point. That's it pretty much for utilities. And last one, okay, so that should pretty much do it for the site. The last thing, we do have vehicle turning maneuvers. We've demonstrated that the fire apparatus can come into the site and exit the site from both directions, either from the east or from the west, making its way around the site to service any emergency situations. The last thing was the photometrics plan. As you can see, as you know, Madam Chair, foot candle distribution is how this is measured. So looking at the front of the property, the area of most concern, because this is a residential side of the property, although the residences are on the opposite side of the street. And like I said, there's ambient lighting along that is cast onto these properties from Pleasant Street. But as you can see, these levels are fairly low. This is 0.2 foot candle. So essentially, for anybody that on the board that may not be familiar with the terminology, a foot candle is the amount of light that one candle gives off at that location. In this case here, it's 20% of the light given from one candle. As you can see, worst case is almost a candle's worth of illumination here, not even making it onto the street. A little bit more out back, it's about 1 foot candle along the property line. But again, this is an industrial building to the east. To the west, again, Metro West Christian Academy and Connect Church in common ownership. Again, another commercial property. That, I believe, Madam Chair, covers it for the presentation. I can give the board a real quick overview as to what this looks like in terms of how, with respect to an area. So the
Yes,
aerial
that'd be
photo.
okay.
So this shows the site in here. The parking lot I was referring to, the old gravel parking lot, is in this area here. Access. So this is an older, actually, no, you can see it. So egress from the site comes through here and out this way. This is Connect Church. As I said, a combination of evergreens and deciduous, mostly deciduous, with the railroad tracks to the west, and you can see the residential properties to the north, and to the east we have this industrial use. this is the soccer field. This is basically what it's going to look like from the sky when it's done. You're going to have a parking lot. This is an older rendering, so please excuse that. This shows what we were looking at originally for the gravel. This will all be paved in here. So this is what we're looking at with the proposed trees, the tot lot, which is going to be again loamed and seed. Here is your soccer field. As you can see, the traffic patterns are two-way out of the site and back in through Connect Church and Metro West. This view here is a bird's eye view showing the soccer field, the proposed parking facilities, and these views as viewed from the front walkway of each of the homes opposite the site. So these are the vistas, and this is how it presents itself. This is one location from the property furthest to the north. Then as we move, I'm sorry, furthest to the east, as we move westward, this is what you're going to see when
Now,
all is said and done.
Wayne, I think I saw it in a few locations, but is the net, the fencing modeled in there?
Yes. In fact, that's part of the challenge is trying to see it. It's in there. See that? See this in here? These little hash
Yeah, I was
marks?
looking. So
Yeah,
is there no, like there's the poles, but there's no like bar at the top or a heavy, it's
No.
just, it's very,
Yeah, yeah. They almost look like the screens at Fenway. Not as loose, but that's how they and then when we do the flyover, I think you'll be able to see it
Okay.
more clearly. So that's this guy. Then we continue. And so this is the new entrance. So going into the site, coming out, so they'll have an opportunity to turn right or go straight into the site. As you can see, already occupied by vehicles, so there's something going on. And then we have the Metro West, the Connect Church recreational fields here. I think it would be beneficial. This is basically what we're looking at for trees, proposed trees, red maples and American basswood. This is the existing sign. This is our proposed sign. And then looking at the fencing, there is a cable that runs along the top. So it's not as loosey-goosey as Fenway or as expensive, I would imagine, but it is, again, it's kind of a loose top. It has a little bit of give to it. So with that, I would like to just quickly show the flyover and then get open it up to questions, Madam Chair, with you and the board. So I will pull this baby over here and enjoy the show. That's basically it.
all right, thank
So,
you.
You're welcome. So with that, I am open to some questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll right away just open it up to questions from the board.
I may have missed it. Are we talking permeable paving or regular paving?
Regular paving.
Regular paving. And then I assume when you're talking lighting, you're talking like Musco style sports lights.
Yep. Actually, I think that's the brand. I
It's,
think that's they
they
call
have the
them
market
Musco.
cornered.
Yep.
Angel does a lot of work with schools, so she knows
Oh,
her
really? No kidding.
fields.
No kidding. That's a fun process, isn't it? I've done those projects before in the past as well.
So I believe over the course of the discussions, going from the permeable kind of stone or gravel paving to the paving was both a matter of ADA and accessibility, the track out and the difficulty of maintaining it, and the fact that those kind of impermeable or pervious, I should say, paving gets compacted and becomes impermeable anyway.
Yeah,
Um,
so,
Right.
And-
And
and
I
I-
was more specifically speaking about permeable pavement, not the stone.
yep,
Right,
So
okay.
permeable
Yep.
asphalt.
yep.
And
So go ahead.
and then I was just gonna say, and this has been, have you already been through conservation at this point? Is that complete
yes.
or?
Yeah, so we met with them. There was a mess up in the advertising for the last meeting. So we had to re-advertise and we're re-notifying abutters. I think we re-notified them last week. My company, the guys in my office did, or earlier this week. So we're going to be meeting with them. See, this is the 26th in early April. I think we're meeting
Okay.
with them at maybe the 11th or 12th. I've got a lot of meetings that month, but I think it's about that time.
Okay.
I have a question. How much distance is it from the edge of the sidewalk to where that 20-foot fence is going to be?
Yep,
On the side that goes towards the road? I just
Yep.
have a hard, I can't see it.
sure. Excuse me. So through the chair, we're talking this area in here, correct?
Yeah, so I say 10 feet.
Yeah, so that's probably, it's about 10 feet. About 10
Are you-
feet.
In your renderings, you show that a lot of existing trees still being there, and I think that's kind of the goal, is to have that. Well, I guess I made an assumption there. Is that the goal, to keep those existing trees to kind of buffer from the sidewalk to that fence? Like, will they
Yep.
still be able to work around and put in? Because it looks like the fence is like almost right up to where the goalpost is going to be, which I'm assuming is the, that's where like the edge of the turf is going to be, and then there's, I think, also in the rendering where you showed grass. I just wanted to really understand that there's those trees, you're going to try to keep those up while you're doing the construction, and not so that there keeps that natural berm or the
Sure.
natural foliage there. Yes.
I like the question, and just for a point of clarification, so the flyover, the renderings, that was done at the time where we had grading. Not in fact, no, grading didn't really change much in here. It changed pretty much in here because previously we had it right up to the property line, but we no longer have that situation because we were proposing a swale. I think in the northeast end, we had something going on in here for a swale as well. So the plan would be that they'd go in there, they would, as we look at the site, we would identify the limits of clearing. Anytime we do a project like this, we look for specimen trees. And so if we find there's a specimen tree, obviously, if there's a specimen tree here within the soccer field, that's going to be a problem. But if we have specimen trees along here, what we do is we identify them for saving. If there's an unhealthy tree as well, we'll look at that and say, well, what is the value of this unhealthy tree? Would it be worth replacing that before it meets its demise and creates situations? So we would look at this area, we would augment it. It's part of the plan. So as part of our plan, we would look to flag the limits of clearing, identify trees that are for saving, and the same would apply here. We have a little bit more flexibility along here. So if we see a beautiful specimen tree in this location here, that's actually maybe out in here, we would look to save that. We would modify the grading to work around that. Out here, we would augment the vegetation with some lower undergrowth. We would not propose canopy trees per se, unless we felt that we could not create a situation where we increase some mortality rate to the existing trees or to what we're proposing. So we're going to work with that. And I think that in our discussions, and I would suggest that the planning board condition that is part of this, when this work is done along Pleasant Street, we're sensitive to the abutters across the street. Totally get it. So with that said, we would suggest that the planning board condition that the area following the flagging of the limits of clearing, that a representative from the town, the planning board, town staff, meet with us out at the site, the landscape architect, the client, and the site contractor to have a clear understanding of what we're retaining. Then we would identify those trees that are going to be saved, that may have been within a clearing footprint, that we can save, and then come up with a game plan as how we're looking to vegetate that. Again, the goal is to be sensitive to the abutters across the street and to provide the necessary screening.
Yeah, I just looking at the Google map pictures from this last summer, like as you drive by, it looks like a pretty not a bunch of new trees there. And I'm just imagining, I don't think the goal is to knock them all down and make it clear cut just so you can
No,
get in
I agree.
quickly. So I just wanted to see kind of what you were saving, you know what I mean?
Sure, sure. And I do, through the chair, I do appreciate Scott's comment, because when you look at it in the winter, so what you're seeing here is a lot of dense, nasty undergrowth, and that's putting it mildly. Here in the winter photos, you get a better representation of what's actually going on. You can see the healthy trees and the unhealthy trees. So as you can see, closer to the sidewalk in here, we're retaining trees. Obviously, something out in here, if that's beyond the 10 feet, will no longer exist. But what we would look to do is maintain whatever we can in here. And in fact, if we still have this undergrowth in here, we're not touching it. We're not touching it. We're going to augment what's in there. So the difference between the winter and the summer is pretty staggering. I mean, this is that same shot in the summertime versus the wintertime.
Yeah, I think the key thing here would be to request to ask that our tree warden, who I know you know, is to be the one that really looks at those trees, determines which ones are worth saving, and determine what trees would be best planted amongst these, what new trees, in order to, the ones that would actually, survive best, grow to be an asset along the street. And there's probably no one better to do it than Becca. So.
Yep, all over that, all over that.
I think are there other questions from the board?
Yeah, I had just one other comment. I know you guys
Yeah,
are going back
please.
about the paving the parking lot or not paving it, and I appreciate that you decided to go in that direction. I feel like that's kind of where you would have wanted to get the project to, maybe later on down the road, and be like, oh, having the lines and having that. I know it's different for like the heat, bouncing back and stuff of that nature, but I do think the actual use of for the players and the family of the players, it'll end up being a little bit more successful.
So I appreciate the comment, because it was raised that kids may throw stones in the parking lot. We were all kids. I wouldn't let my kids do it, but I know that I would have probably done it. But I think I appreciate that. And it was interesting because that mindset was relayed to us as consideration was starting to grow for the paved parking lot, where the church said, you know what? It may not be a bad thing. We may end up there at some point, be there at some point. Why don't we address it now? So let's just go ahead and do it. So it's interesting you brought that up. Thanks.
Do you know what kind of turf you're going to be using? Because that can sort of, we're putting this paving in, so we're increasing our heat island. Do you know if you were just thinking like the regular rubber crumb, or are you going with more of the low temperature fill?
I appreciate that. I think that's kind of what we're thinking of, is that lower temperature fill. I know there were other products out there back in the day. It was just the rubber, but
Mhm.
now there are other more, I guess I would say more environmentally friendly options or more options that I know parents are more comfortable with.
Right.
So I know there are a number of products. I was speaking with one of the LAs in the office, my business partner, and he was saying the same thing. So yeah, we would look at something that would be, if we could do something that doesn't radiate heat. And again, that's when I came up with the parking lot design that I originally had. It was with that in mind, being friendly to the environment. I've got a paved drive, an unpaved driveway, crushed stone, and I love it. I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's not bad to maintain. It's a little bit in when I'm doing some leaf blowing or the mower catches the edge of it and sends a rock at the house. But other than that, I love it. I love it. But
I still think that, the question here and, from the time that the design review committee had approved the design, it was natural grass at that time. It was not synthetic turf. And so I think that is still understanding that decision, and I know not being a soccer player myself, I don't have any personal experience with this, but there seems to be obviously plus and minuses of both sides. And I think that's something now that this project is back before us that we're going to want to understand in detail. And I think Angel's questions about, exactly what is this, and how far is the project willing to go to choose the safest most pleasant to be on. I've heard these can be very hot. I've heard they can get very hard.
Mhm.
They can, leach things obviously, into the groundwater. And to know more about this system, about the change, so that's not just being changed to the easiest thing, but to the things that will best protect Ashland, best protect the kids that play on it. And like I have no expertise in this area, but I'm aware of the controversy. And so that would be like, maybe kind of like Angel's question, exactly what is this? What's being proposed? And I would think that that would be something we need to know and something that would be conditioned into the project.
Sure, and I do appreciate the question, and as you know, Madam Chair, with what you're doing with what Angel does, when you go to various boards and commissions, and I say this all the time, but there are competing interests. So what we heard from one group is that we love the synthetic turf, and it was conservation because they look at it from water conservancy, and then you hear that we like the natural turf. And I think that was the initial position of the planning board. We love the natural turf. So it's striking that fine line. In terms of, any questions you folks may have on the natural turf, joining me tonight is Roger Martin with Green Landscaper. And if I could, Madam Chair, maybe he can answer some of the questions that you folks can have. And again, I think to condition it, we're totally on board with that. Because I mean, that's one way to ensure that things get done to the liking of the board. So Raj, if I could, Madam Chair, is Raj allowed to?
Yeah, I would love to be getting some more information, education about these kind of fields. So
Thank you.
Hi, yes, my name is Roger Martin with Greenleaf Landscaping. The first thing I want to kind of point out as well is that obviously there's been a migration from natural grass to synthetic turf fields. Just one, due to the wearability of the field itself. I know that the middle school has a synthetic turf field, Walker Field, used for soccer and lacrosse and football. Ashland High School Memorial Field is a synthetic turf field. So, in these, I think it was, I'm looking over here, middle school was installed back in 2011. I can tell you just from the innovations made to the various substrates, the products itself that are used within inside the field, it's dramatically changed because the questions you bring up, which are great points, they have definitely been are looking to address all of that. A lot of it too is even because, you look at some of these fields have now moved their way into colleges and other universities as well as, professional fields. And it really comes down to, I think the crux of the whole thing is that, and Wayne had brought up water conservation. If we were to go ahead with a regular seeded field, in order to allow the grass to build durability, it's like anything else. We consider it like a human being, right? You need water and you need Gatorade, especially if you're working out. And that Gatorade comes in the form of fertilizer. All of these different components can play a similar role in order to establish growth for the grass. But ultimately, I can tell you that, especially in the spring when all the sports are starting up and the fields are very, very moist, you can literally, I mean, if they would have, a lot of different soccer games there, you could literally tear up that field in a heartbeat and creating more problem than good. The synthetic turf fields definitely alleviate that issue. Another thing that you had brought up is with regards to, like, say, temperature. My understanding is that if we were to, on hotter days, just hit the field with, we talked about water being brought to the location. You can hit the field with water and bring down the temperature by 15 degrees within about 5 minutes. So you can go ahead and introduce options to address some of the issues like with regards to temperature, with regards to the crumble we're talking about, which used to be recycled tires. They're now coming out with things that are more environmentally friendly. As far as what we, should we decide to go with that route, by all means, I'd love to have the town's input on what their thoughts would be in one product versus the other.
So is there like not really a recommendation at this time? Is there not like a,
No,
we have the
our-
product that's best for this application that's been proven to be blah, blah, blah? Is that unknown still?
At this point, until we get obviously confirmation from the town that we're going to be able to move this way, then obviously we'd be making more of a decision.
Yeah, I think they have to, I think it's kind of, happening simultaneously in a way, like, I think, and I'm just one person here. I can see the downside of natural grass, obviously, like I said, the water and the use and it's just, and I certainly understand, but about the time since those other fields were built, there's got to be better stuff out there. But then the
100%.
question is, well, what better stuff? Can you show us the data? Can you show us how it's better? Can you show us so that and it doesn't have to be today, like maybe that's obviously today's meeting is about making sure all our board members know this project because some of them are new and to be able to get the what are the next steps out there and so that we can hopefully see you back in just 2 weeks and not a long period of time, but in that time then maybe be able to provide some of that real data because like yeah, I just want to have a better understanding of these kind of materials,
Sure.
and and how these materials can be safe and good to use, good for kids to be on. I know they're used all the time, but how are how are those factors addressed? So
Absolutely. Be happy
is
to
that so? Is that can we get deeper into that the next time and understand what these products are? I mean, if there's someone else, I mean, I know Angel, I think has some experience with it at least. I don't know if anyone else does. I don't, not my wheelhouse. So
I
I'm
don't-
just looking to learn and to be able to, in that way, make a good decision for the project.
Yeah, I don't know. I personally don't know a ton about these, but I think coming to us and saying like, hey, this is the type of field we want to present, I think would be not just good for us on the planning board, but also good for the town, right? When you present, hey, this is the level that we're trying to go to. I mean, it may even be like as much of a thing where you say, hey, we're planning for this field to last us 10 to 15 years, and then this is our plan to recycle it afterwards, or with the low amount of use we're going to do, it should last 20 years. I don't know. I really don't know these things. I'm just trying to throw these out as some of the thoughts that do pop up.
Those were rock solid guesses then, because 10 years is the average lifespan of a turf field.
Well, okay, I did Google, but I didn't like, I don't like, I'm just trusting what, it's showing me on the screen, and I'm not an expert. But, I also don't know how much they're planning on using it, like if they're gonna open up to
Mhm.
more than just, 2 leagues or something of that, may get a lot more use, but I don't know, just some things like that would really, I think, super be good. That's great English, but, just really helpful in bringing it to not just for us, but also for the town, and the feedback that comes back from the town about what these type of things that go in.
Absolutely.
I mean, because I think for me, and I did go through the GCG report, just trying to look through my highlights here. I think there was a little bit of questions about the height of the lights that may or may not be put in, right? But I didn't really have a problem with that. So I think to me, the big question, was just about understanding about the turf field. And so I think, for me, again, I'm just kind of going through my highlights here. I think for me, that's like the piece I just want to understand a lot more about before making this decision. I think everything else, like, personally, I think that it would be a great asset for Ashland to have these fields in this area. I think, you've thought about all the surrounding areas. You obviously we've been working on it or you've been working on it for, I don't know, the better part of a year, I guess, right?
My life.
Right. So, and gone through these iterations. Obviously, we want to see what conservation, says next week. Our decisions within this kind of thing are always contingent upon theirs and their expertise. But that's one piece that I just feel like I want more information on, that to be able to know that we looked at it closely and we feel comfortable with the decision made. So if we can look at that for next time, plus if anyone else wants to add anything in, that you have other questions, please put them out here now, so we have a very short list that these guys maybe are digging into for our next meeting and can focus on. Does anyone have anything, other questions, things that they want more information on, or?
Well, I concur with
anything?
you. These fields is a wide variation of what can be installed. So I think a little bit more information would be good with how we're draining it, what we're filling it with, what materials we're using with, all of that.
Okay, great. Yeah. So does that, it's probably not unexpected, I assume, from,
Right.
so if that's something we can do, I mean, we should have, Jasmine, are you still there somewhere in cyberspace?
I am here in cyberspace.
So, I assume our next agenda, we should have room to look at this again on April 9th, right?
Yes.
So, if that works for you, if that gives you 2 weeks to kind of put together some materials for us, and, so that we can understand that, understand the options and a lot better. That would, I think that's in my sense, it's really the only question hanging out there for me personally. I can't say for the board, so.
Okay.
I will say that we will definitely by the April 9th, come up with options, if not a recommendation for the type of synthetic turf field that we'd like to use, that type of thing.
Okay, great. That would be very helpful information. So
Mhm.
I needed information, I guess I should say.
Sure.
So, all right, then, is there any other questions from the board, or is there any questions that the applicant has for us before we continue this to April 9th? No? Okay. Great, then to keep things easy here on Zoom, I will make a motion that we continue 240 to 260 Pleasant Street site plan review to the meeting on April 9th. Is there a second?
Second that.
And a roll call vote?
Deepa Venkatai.
Scott Pelletier, aye.
Paul Montesino, aye.
And Trisha Kendall, aye. I think it's just the four of us this time, so we will continue that till April 9th.
Terrific.
And thank you for being here. Thanks for the presentation and the update so that everyone can get on the same page. It was very helpful.
Thank you, folks. Great meeting the new board members and seeing everybody else again. Thanks a lot.
right, we'll-
Have a good night.
And
We'll
I
see you in 2
appreciate your
weeks.
time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, all right. All right, so next on our agenda is 30 Memorial Drive, YMCA. And I see, I think, a number of people here from the YMCA. Unless there is any comments you think we should have, we do have a draft of the decision that went out to the board, and our plan was to put that up and to go through it and see if we can plug away and get through this thing tonight. So is there anyone, Carrie, was there anything that needs to be put out there from the Y? Any information
Nope,
or statement?
we're all
we should-
set. We're
Okay.
gonna turn it right to you. Yep.
And is there any questions from the board? that you
My
need to
only
ask to
question
the-
is, there were a couple of DPW related comments on the GCG report last time, and I'm not sure where we landed with those line items.
Yeah, I think those were, it was about an estimate, the estimated site sewage flow would need to be provided and approved by the DPW sewer division. I think that would be part of the building permit or prior to being issued a building permit. That was in the GCG report directed really to the DPW, but relative.
Was there something
Relative to us as
about the sidewalk or snow icing? The 2 or 3 notes that I remember that was DPW.
Do you think you could find those, Deepa? I don't,
I am just pulling that
okay.
up.
I only remember the one. So meanwhile, Jasmine, maybe if you can bring up the current,
The clean version or the redlined one?
I think the redlined one, that your latest one.
I just don't remember.
And Deepa, jump in as soon as you
You know,
find
it's
what
funny
you're-
that we are seeing hard copies in this one is like something is missing here. Realize we are on Zoom now.
What was that? What's missing?
No, we were actually seeing hard copy comments the last time in the CG report, and now it's like looking through the emails to find that
Oh, right.
comments.
Yeah, I still have hard copies around me, and then I have all marked up from this, but it's true, we don't have the folders in front of us anymore.
Can you see that?
Jasmine, do
Madam Chair?
you?
Can you see the share screen?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Jasmine, I was just gonna ask if you remember, or did you note anything else that was related to DPW?
Not,
I
It
found the
appears
report.
that's a Word document you could, are you looking at the GCG? I was gonna say you could do a search, but this is the decision, not the GCG, so.
right, is that what you were wanting to look at now? Is the GCG report?
I found it, Tricia. I found the GCG
Okay.
report. Let me see if I can get to the DPW one.
Okay. And Deepa, at least for me, if you can zoom, or can I do that on my own screen? I don't think I can. If you can zoom just a little bit on that text, it's a little hard to read on screen, at least for me. I don't know if it can be zoomed a little bigger.
Madam Chair, just if you don't mind, if
There
I
you go.
could
Thank
for a
you.
moment. By the way, Matt Eckel from Fletcher Tilton. Deepa, to your comments, it looks like numbers 24, 55, and 67 relate to DPW in some form or fashion. If you want to just cross those off. I know one of them, I think the one we just addressed with the sewer capacity was listed as a potential condition within this decision. So certainly we haven't done anything yet on that. I didn't read through the other two yet, but those were the numbers with a quick control find that spoke to DPW.
That was very fast, Matt.
So sorry, that was 24. And what was the other ones?
55 and 67. And it looks like in the interest of time, 24 relates to the sidewalks, and it looks like pedestrian sidewalks proposed, resolved. That was related to the sidewalks to Dunkin' Donuts. 55
Yep.
relates to the sewage flow, which DPW approval will be required, which obviously will happen down the road. And then 67 talks about sewer pump details will be provided to DPW, excuse me, when available. And that just also references DPW approval required. So nothing has happened with that yet, so that could be a potential condition as well if the board finds that amenable.
Okay. Yeah, and we do have we do have 55 in there as a condition, and maybe we can just add 67 to it when we get to that point. Does that make sense, Deepa?
Thank you. Yes.
Okay. Good memory. Okay. Okay, so so for the board, my intention is just that we're starting at the beginning here. We scroll up, and if you have anything on your copy that you marked up here, that that you should just speak out so that we can make those corrections. Jasmine, the red is Jasmine's comments. Mine had already been incorporated. So yeah, we'll just see if we can tick all the boxes. The one thing I would have at the and I'm not sure where it fits in here, but on the end of this first paragraph, it talks about plans dated 4/25. No, sorry, 2/12/26. But I think we also want to include that the elevations and renderings, which I think have a date on them of 11, they were presented, I think 11/6/25. So because obviously the drawing, the plans and site plans don't show the, actually show the building. So anyone else have anything on that page? We can always go back to, but I'm just going to try to keep the ball rolling here. Okay. I like that. I like the additions in blue there, Jasmine. That's very clear. Okay, so do you want to just roll forward? I think actually the next thing that I have is under 2.0. Does anyone have anything before 2.0, which is just after the project narrative? Does anyone have anything in the project narrative? Okay. So my question there was just, I just want to be clear because I know we talked about this. I want to say, not to put you on the spot, Scott, but I want to say Scott in particular might have talked about this, about the red lines crossed out in the community needs served by the proposal. And I think we talked a little bit about how are these areas beneficial for the community and not just kind of for the paid membership of the community. And I understand about having control, obviously, on over their own, the YMCA having control over its own property, that it's not a public park, and we need to be aware of that. But I'm wondering a little bit about that verbiage. Scott, are you there somewhere? I didn't mean, like I said, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I believe you had kind of commented on this a little bit.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I guess you mean like I guess I'm not really sure what you're looking for from me in this wording to be structured as. Like do we say something about like how they added, the suggested sidewalk type thing? Is that what
I guess I'm wondering if we want something in there about um, that that the town, that it's anticipated that the YMCA will work with the town, will be collaborative with the town for various events or occasional use of the grounds or the grounds as a
Well,
but I don't know if that's it's
more
kind
of
of it's
that was more of that was based on when they were originally seeking the CPC funds,
okay.
which put like a caveat that they had to
Okay.
allow the town usage of it to get those funds as just part of how it goes. Since then, they have decided not to go for those funds at this moment. So that caveat doesn't have to be on there. I do believe it's kind of in the spirit of maybe somebody from the Y can help correct me on this, but I do feel like it was kind of in the spirit of the YMCA that some of that back area would eventually be, or at least allowed to have some town usage and not just for the members that are there, but that could have changed. But there's just the way they talk about the paths back there and what was it called? Nature's Edge, right? Like really kind of being a big opportunity, not just for the Y, but also for the town. But they can clarify that. But my original point with that was with the CPC funds.
Got it. Thank you. But can someone from the Y jump in on that? Is there a verbiage here that would be acceptable that would show that kind of collaboration, though leaving the YMCA in control of its own property?
I can jump in, Madam Chair, and Scott kind of hit the nail on the head. Things did, I don't want to say got rolled back a little bit, but when those funds weren't pursued, just to be so specific in the language as it was written out here that's been crossed out, I think there's obviously that spirit of cooperation and the intent of this whole project and Nature's Edge and the trail connections. It is for the benefit of the town and members as well. We just thought maybe having too much affirmative language when that program's not even finalized yet in terms of the soccer fields or playgrounds, which may or may not exist. So I think we're certainly okay with the spirit of collaboration, and if there needs to be some wording that says the Y is happy to continue outreach with the town for a special event, I don't think we're opposed to that. It was a little too affirmative, 24/7, not 24/7, but you know what I'm saying. It's kind of open to the public at all times. So I think to your point of future communication for special events, or if that needs to go in, I think some form of that would certainly be acceptable. But also your point, we do need to just maintain control, and where there's no public funds here now, I think that's why it came out. So happy to have any suggestions, but that's kind of the background of it. And I think Scott hit the nail on the head.
It just
Yeah,
seems
I
like
mean-
that sentence. Oh, go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was really hoping that once you got through more of the fundraising, as you get towards the end, as you get, closer to, the realization of everything, maybe if CPC can be brought back in to help with some of those funds for that back area. I know the town would really love to help contribute to that piece. I just know it can't be done now with the way the funding is doing. But I understand why they crossed it out, so.
Okay. Can we just wrap off that sentence by saying the project will also provide recreational facilities that will be an asset to the community? Does that keep it general?
I think that
Uh,
sounds right, Matt.
I wanted Rick to jump in, not speak for him, but I think that's certainly some amenable language. So
Okay. So just after facilities, you're just putting in that will be an asset to the community. And we'll leave it at that. Okay. Next. I think I am. So does anyone have, I'm good now until site plan review criteria. So does anyone have anything in the special permit criteria?
I
Just have it-
also did not have anything till the site plan review. I had very minor comments as well on the site plan review sections.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, so like I said, we can always go back if you found we missed something. I'm on number 2. Minimize obstruction of scenic views, and this was my correction, and I just have the wrong word there. It should be the planning board finds that although or though the site contains no long distance, that the word view should come out. It would, yeah, all of that is already there. Yeah, so it's just changing view to though, and I don't know why I did that, but it needs to be corrected, yeah. Otherwise, it makes no sense. Deepa, jump in here with your little corrections.
I think I didn't find anything except 1 on 9. It was just, I think, located yeah, that one, the 9, it's that the planning board finds that the transformer for the for the project is located away from the street.
Yeah, I think it's not it's not a transformer, is it? It's a generator, right? I think I have that.
No,
Is there
I think
a transformer on the site, or do I have that wrong?
yes.
There is a transformer. And
Yeah,
is it the same in
yeah.
the same location as the generator? Because there's also a generator.
The generator, they would probably be in the same general area, but they would be, we may not have a generator, so that's still being determined, but yeah, they would be in this case away from the street, like up on the, up on the site.
Okay. And do I had it right that it was located near the early learning center? Is that right?
The one for the early learning center is, but then there's a second, there's 2 transformers, one for each building. So the one for
Okay.
the membership, I think, is actually like kind of, like if you were walking from Dunkin' Donuts up that side of the site, it's up there on that part, at least at the moment.
Then why don't we change then this to say that the planning board finds that objectionable features such as transformers with an S take out near the early learning center and just say transformers are located far from the street. Is it far from the street, the other one? Probably not.
Yeah, they're far from the street. I guess what is far, right? Is
Yeah,
far,
I know. It's not
like
it's a
if you're
little
gonna
bit.
put vegetation in front of it, is far 10 feet or as far like, hundreds of feet. So, If we
Yeah,
can
but why don't we say
located
the planning
away
board finds that objectionable features such as transformers have been screened using vegetative buffers.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're gonna to some extent be at the mercy of the utility to understand exactly where they want it to, but we can always screen it if it ends up down closer to the street.
And you can leave it as vegetation there. That sounds fine.
And I wonder if it should be hidden or screened.
Yeah.
Yeah, screen's probably better because hidden sounds like you have to not ever see it at all.
We not want to hide the transformer under a tree.
Yeah, and I think Deepa on number 6 above, I think it also kind of has the same verbiage.
I thought
Um,
so too. Yeah, I have
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and actually that's where I was reading it. Objectionable features such as transformers have been screened using
So
vegetative
are
buffers.
6 and 9 kind of, do we need to duplicate it?
It's just that that's what it's they both kind of I think it actually you could take it out of 9 because I think 9 is more about, no, it does say utility buildings and structures. So it's kind of, this is the reason our bylaws need to be cleaned up, is that they're somewhat repetitive in places. So I would just say we have the same
Yeah.
verbiage at each location.
And this one
and-
talks also about rooftop mechanical units versus the other one very specifically talks about the early
Yeah.
learning center. So maybe the two buildings are coming up in 2 different times. I think we're good. But I would
Yeah.
definitely take that hidden from public view again. Rooftop mechanical equipment shall be is screen the right word for this particular one? I guess.
I think so. Yeah.
Shielded?
Yeah, I think that's a better word. I mean, when you think about it, rooftop units do have screens. That's a different thing, acoustical screens,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Okay. And then on number 7 in that same section is where I have, and I'm not sure it's the appropriate place, this talks about consideration shall be given to the impacts of the project on town services and infrastructure. And you can see the last sentence of that says the planning board notes, that should I maybe say that, the planning board notes that estimated site sewage flow should be provided and approved by DPW sewer division. So that was number 55, and the other one was 67, which says it's a little bit different. 67 regarding DPW is generic, well, sewer pump details will be provided to the DPW. So planning board notes that estimated sewage flow and sewer pump details, we could write. And sewer pump details should be provided and approved by DPW sewer division. So that'll cover those two things that Deepa had talked about.
And when does that have to be provided?
Good question. I assume before building permits are issued.
It's not clear if
Wait.
it's got to be provided now during construction or post-construction.
It usually will be before when they're going for permits. It's kind of because you're looking at capacity at that point.
Yeah, so why don't we add to the end of that sentence prior to the issuing of building permits?
Madam Chair, if I may also, just
Yep.
sorry to jump in, but condition N speaks to this, and it does mention prior to the issuance of a building permit, but it doesn't have that second part that you're adding in here. So I don't want to jump around too much, but when we get to that.
No, I appreciate that because I was wondering where was the appropriate place to put this little note. Uh, so we can have it here and we can copy and paste it and put it in the in as a condition as well. So okay, so I think my next thing is under number 11.
Trisha, my
Oh,
quick question on
yep.
that 8
Mhm.
one, we are saying all the utilities will be underground. Is that really true?
Is that really
Or is
true,
that
IMC?
constraining? I mean, do you have like electric lines, power lines that's probably not going to be underground?
I think they are underground along that street, are they?
I'm not sure if like, I don't know if that's putting a condition on the applicant. And I don't know if you're okay with it, it's okay, but I just want to make sure that we're not putting a condition that's not realistic.
I do, Deepa, and again, sorry to interrupt, Madam Chair, but
No, please.
I share the concern. That's certainly the goal right now, and I don't want to speak to all the utilities. That's not my forte, but maybe if there's some lessening language in case, something comes up with the utility companies down the road, we don't have to come back to you just to amend the decision.
That it can't be done. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, all the utilities on Memorial Drive are underground right now, and it is our intention to bring ours in underground, but I agree with Matt. Like, if it's outside of our control, it would be nice to have an out if the utilities can't support.
It's funny that that kind of line says in case of except in case of extreme physical and environmental constraints, it actually kind of takes care of it. I don't know if we need to add finding to that line item. You know what I mean? It already says you are going underground unless there is extreme physical and environmental constraints. So it kind of builds into that. Do we need to redefine that?
If you took the word extreme out, would that make it a little bit easier in case, like, I mean, if there's, I'm sure they don't want to
Maybe
be
unforeseen.
some of them.
But just
We
to
can't-
avoid reference, the bolded language comes right from the bylaw, so I don't
That's
think you
right,
can
we
really change that.
Yeah, we're not looking to change the bold because that is in our bylaw, but we can soften it. I mean, or it could be as Deepa was saying, the planning board agrees with the above statement.
Yeah, just keep it generic because it kind of gives that flexibility. If there is physical and environmental constraints, obviously you're not going underground. So we are just agreeing with that bylaw that is there.
How about the planning board finds in favor of the above statement?
Yeah.
And then it would just be a matter of, is the case extreme or not? And that would be the question.
It's a very challenging site anyways.
Yeah.
So,
Like I said, our bylaws need a good pass through, but this is what we have to work with.
yeah.
Okay, so then we're back through 9, which we already did.
I had a question about 10.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure, because I don't really understand this. Number 10 is talking about once it's built, right?
Yes, once it's built.
Okay, so they're not gonna be held to any crazy things because they have a bulldozer in there working during, normal hours or something. So I just wanted to make sure that this was meant like afterwards, like once it's built. Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, we've never considered that during construction. Yeah. More noise that is not generating noise for a neighborhood, a residential neighborhood or something like that.
Thanks.
So, okay, so then number 11 is kind of where I put the kind of very specific things that talk about, because it's asking about parking, loading, signage, dimensions, actual things that are covered in the bylaw. So, and I do have an addition to this. Yeah, so a few corrections here. One, I would just, just to stay within the language that I had for, let's see, okay, for parking, I want to add another section to this, another sentence, because there was one other thing that was in the GCG that we talked about last time that I didn't get in here, and that was about those 4 trees in the parking lot, and we determined like it's 4 trees, there's trees everywhere, we're kind of good, right? So this one I want to change to parking, seeing how I did, parking comma spaces as a category within, yeah, parking comma spaces. And then we can put, just to stay in the same language, the board approves 289 parking spaces. So no, that's at the beginning. So yeah, so put board approves there.
And Trijani, I think
Yep.
last time we talked about this project is a master plan and it's not all happening at the same time. So are we all right as a board saying that day one, you're gonna have 289 parking spots, even if the second membership building happens at a later date? I forget where we left off the last time we had this conversation.
Are you wondering if the parking will be built right away with no building there?
Well, we are approving 289, so you can go ahead and clear the land for the membership building. In the worst case scenario, may not happen for 3 years, but you're clearing the land right away for the parking spaces. So I know we had this discussion and I just could not remember where we left off.
I do not either.
Do we have any objection of clearing the land before the second membership building happens?
If I may, Madam Chair, I'm so sorry.
Please.
So that's the reason that we're requesting the restoration bond, Deepa. So the intent is for them to do all of the site work at one time, so that they can do all the erosion control measures at once, because the cost and the work it would take to go around the early learning center would be too difficult. So it'd be integral for the project for them to do all the site work at the beginning.
That's what we said last time.
That sounds familiar.
Thank you for
Yeah.
reminding. Thank you.
Yes.
And Madam Chair, may I add that would be our desire, but I'm not sure that will be our reality, given status of, where we are with the overall project costs and the phasing. So to Deepa's point, I don't know how that works. Like if we do the ELC and we just do the parking lot and the clearing for the ELC, and then we, I don't know how we build that into the decision that we will, work with the town as it relates to, kind of identifying the phases, but that this would be the maximum. I'm just not sure how that works, but
Yeah, I think
each phase would be like compliant in terms of like accessibility, et cetera. But yeah, we will likely not be in a position to build all the spaces at once.
yeah, which makes sense to me because yeah, so I think that's covered by the but Deep or Jasmine, do you think that's covered by what you already talked about?
Yes, Madam Chair, I
Sure.
do believe that that is the intent for that, is that, for them to allow them to do the site work all at once. That's the intent of the restoration bond.
Yeah, so it kind of leaves that flexibility in the project.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and to phase it as is best for the project, I guess. So,
Are we noting that restoration bond here? I saw surety.
It's in the
bond.
conditions. It is called a surety bond, but it is for restoration.
So the surety bond that is there, end of the paper, is the same thing as this?
Yes,
Okay.
we're still waiting for confirmation from town council exactly what it will look like.
Okay.
are you good, Deepa, with
Yeah,
that?
and we don't talk about EV parking at all in the section. I guess it's
No,
not
but
talked about.
I just figured it's by building code now.
Yeah,
So, yeah, especially if because this building will fall under the opt-in stretch code. Is that's right, Carrie, right? It's for new
Yeah.
construction,
Yep.
so.
Yeah, it's all required by code, yeah.
Yeah, so, so that, like I said, I feel like the building
we
code
don't
has
have
kind
to
of
put that, okay,
taken over our job.
got it.
So,
Madam Chair, the one section within that with number 11 that kind of has been pulled out and put back in a few times only because it speaks to zoning requirements for parking. I don't know if you want to make note of the ZBA relief. I know that's a separate board, but without it, it kind of makes it look like you're approving the size of spaces when that was granted by another board. So I obviously leave it to your discretion, but I know it's been put in and taken out a few times and just wanted to mention it one last time.
yeah, I mean, I guess we can put that in because it is relevant and is in the report. So we could put that as, it could just be a note, I guess, at the end of this one, because it relates to spaces, that parking space size of 9 by 18 was previously approved by the ZBA. I think Jasmine did have something like that in there.
Matt, you're right, it was there, I thought I saw it, I had it noted down, now it's missing again, so yes, it seems to have disappeared again.
Yeah, so maybe we put that just in that section with parking spaces. It could be parking spaces sized 9 by 18 were previously approved by the ZBA.
I think they called it variance.
Parking. There you go. Perfect. Okay, so then the next portion of that, I have as parking, comma, plantings. So this would be a new bullet point. So parking, comma, plantings. And then the sentence that I have is the board waives the requirement for an additional 4 trees at the parking area, given the number of surrounding trees. Because that's what we were talking about last time, and it's like, well, where are we going to cram these things? I think we kind of decided that we have plenty.
Given,
I said, it was the 4th GCG report? I don't remember. I just said oh, okay, for 4 additional trees, I just said, given the number of surrounding trees, or given the number of trees on the site.
on the early learning center side.
Yeah, and so, um,
Tisha, were you suggesting the number of new trees planted, or were you suggesting number of trees that was already on the early learning center? Because those 4 trees were very specific to the heat island issue on the ELC side of the project.
I think we were talking about the ones surrounding the site, that there were so many trees surrounding the parking already, that are part of the trees to be, retained, I think was the discussion. So, and then I had, just as the bylaw reference for that is, in parentheses, 5.4.4.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, can you repeat that last part?
So after, at the end of that sentence, I'm just giving the bylaw reference. I just have in parentheses 5.4.4. And that's been kind of consistent how I was doing these. And if you can just put the word area after parking, the board waives the requirement for an additional 4 trees in the parking area. Yeah. Does it need to be more descriptive than that? I mean, it was referring to a GCG. It was referring to a GCG comment. Did you want to put in the early learning center? We could put in the,
Or,
in the,
well, you could or say number of existing trees plus the new plantings. I think there was a recommendation that they are planting more trees than what they are bringing down.
okay, so given the number of new given the number of new and existing trees,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. All right. Then I am going on to, where it says dimensions, landscape setback. It's another one of the bullet points. And this is where, Jasmine, you had entered on that bottom one and grants a special permit. So we need the same verbiage under dimensions landscape setback. So the board approves and grants a special permit, right? Because that's the other change there. So, and under the dimensions, building height, I talked about that there's a 2-story facade on Memorial Drive and a 3-story facade on the back. That's what's happening, right? Because somewhere in our meeting minutes, it said 3 on the front and 4 on the back, and I'm like, I don't think that's right, but I think it was in the meeting minutes
2 and-
incorrectly.
2 and 3.
2 and 3, got it, okay. All right, then I'm done on that page. Does anyone else have anything on that page?
No.
I wanted to, on number 2, I'm down in design plan review criteria. We don't typically have this in, but since we were really taking the place of the design review committee, it was kind of important to have it in. And for number 2, these are my own words that I'm changing here. Wait a minute. No, sorry, where am I? I'm design plan review criteria. Number 2, that starts out building orientation. Okay, so number 2. Here, oh, the last, in the last couple lines of that, it says, though design is still at an early stage. And I was just gonna change that to say, though design is still in process. Because I don't think it's that early of a stage, so, though design, yeah, it's in the next to last line of that paragraph. Though design is still, I was gonna say in process. Give it some leeway there. And then I am done until we hit that site alteration special permit criteria. Yeah, so all this I think is good. So this, Jasmine, I wasn't sure. I think you're saying that we need some kind of statement here. But these aren't criteria, so that's why I didn't address them individually. So do we need some kind of statement? We kind of cover all these things in other text.
Right, it just is what part of what they're applying for. It is part of their application, so it's necessary to include it in part of their decision. You can, if you'd like, leave it just a paragraph underneath it that says, you know, this was reviewed by the board, or the board didn't find any, you know, no waivers were requested under this, or you can add a summary to it, but it was part of their application, so we should memorialize it in the decision as well.
Yeah, I think your idea of just the, like you said, just a little summary, because like I said, as opposed to the other ones, which are listed as criteria that the board must consider, these are kind of just a general, the purpose of the section. So, if we want, we can skip this and come back to it because it's something we could fill in, because basically it's saying we have no issue with this. And as per previously explained, we don't have any, we kind of already talked about all of these things. And I'm not sure how to word that right now, but I'm happy to either come back to it or just have a couple simple sentences that we'll deal with later, unless anyone feels poetically inspired.
No, it
Good.
feels like it is just repeating itself too many times.
Yeah, so I think it's just a sentence or two saying that
Yeah, yeah.
we don't have anything here, but if we can come back to it, or
Yeah, we just can acknowledge the section, but I don't think
right.
we need to repeat the same information.
So leave the red in there for now, Jasmine, but we'll just come back to it and write just a couple sentences that say we're okay with that, with the site alteration special permit. So that then puts us on conditions.
So Trisha, when we're doing that, that B1, that limit land clearing alteration, I don't know how that really works with that surety bond. And how is that? So I guess we should wait for legal counsel to weigh in.
For
The B limit land clearing and alteration of prior to site plan, preliminary plan, or definitive plan approval. Does it just mean that till you get a site plan approved, you can't clear the land? Is that what it all means?
well, the preliminary plan and the definitive plan, I think those have to do with subdivisions, no? So in our case, it would be site plan approval. Wouldn't you say, Jasmine, the preliminary plan and definitive plan are part of subdivision terminology? So ours would just be site plan.
Right.
So you take those two off, is that what you're saying?
Are you looking
I would
to,
suggest they stay in, but they're just not applicable. Again, it's right from the bylaw, so I don't think you want to be cutting and pasting those sections. It's just not applicable to those. definitive and preliminary plan.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm saying for this section is that we don't need to quote the bylaw here because there's no criteria here. Everything else, when you actually look at the bylaw, it says that the planning board is required to look at this. And those sections also have this, a purpose of the section. So this is different. This has a purpose of the section, but it doesn't ever say, I don't think, that the planning board is required to consider blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And that's why we have the sections written the way we have them. When the bylaws specifically asks us to consider the criteria as written. So that's what we do. In this case, I think we can take out all of this red. Again, I just don't think I can have the mindset to do it at the moment and put in a few sentences that saying, maybe I can. The planning board has considered, we'll pull out some words
That
to
lands,
that.
blah, yeah, yeah.
Right, and feel that the site alteration special permit is appropriate in this situation, something like
And
that,
just
right?
name those 3 or 4 and keep it.
That's right,
What
name those few.
categories we are choosing to agree with.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just afraid of getting stuck on that versus getting through and coming back to it. So,
No, fair enough. Sorry.
okay. No, I think that's a good comments. So, okay, so let's get through the conditions. So nonprofit educational use is where we landed, or where most fitting. It's approved, it's allowed under the use, so it seems to fit to me, seems fine. For number 2, I was again noting elevations and renderings shown in the 11-625.
Question, Tricia.
Yep.
I don't think the last time when the renderings were presented that they were set in stone. They were still work in progress. Would this limit them or tie the applicant to those renderings that were presented in November?
I think it's just that, like, the things say both B and C. And I think in C, I think we should add the aforesaid plans renderings, or plans elevations and reports. But both of those documents say substantial conformity, substantial conformance. So it's not 100%. And there's always allowing for wiggle room in there. But I've changed it, or made, by the, that seem out of substantial conformance, but, with the opinion of the building inspector, then it would come back.
Yeah, because I think for this project, there's still material elevations were still in flux. They were still kind of, depending on how the funding is, materiality would have changed. That's what I
Right.
understood from the last time. So, in addition to the building permit, would this group come back to us for the rendering, blessing, materiality, and so on and so forth?
That is a condition we had. Jasmine Anna says she's trying to get in. Yeah, that is a condition that we had talked about how to give them leeway to finish the project and to be able to come back and say, hey, we had to change a bunch of things due
Yeah.
to funding or budgeting.
Yeah, my question is because this particular one is saying that they have to keep the copy of it of that approved rendering on 11/6 on site. So I'm just curious if they go about changing things, are we going to hold them to that particular rendering set? We are kind of approving the massing of the project, right? We are approving the heights of the building. I think that's something that we are okay
Yep.
with, but I'm just curious, do we take that rendering section off and just leave it with the site plan for?
You know, if you go down to the next one, C, right? And you can see at the end of that, in no event shall any of the following be permitted without authorization from the board at a public meeting. Blah, 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 talks about size, talks about drainage. And then, sorry, I'm just reading through those. I see one little thing in it. But we could add number 6 or 5I that says substantial changes to materials or to materials and form or something like that. Would that cover?
Yeah.
Was Anna able to get on?
Yep, I'm right here.
Oh,
I see
great.
that you guys are on page 8, I
We're-
believe.
Yes, we're in the conditions.
Yep, and I've read the changes or the original that Jasmine sent with red line up through that point. And so at the right time, we can catch me up to the first 7 pages if you guys change anything, but I'm up to speed.
Yeah, we can go back through the blue when we're done. Nothing, I don't think anything earth shattering. But the one thing I noticed in there is number 3, installation of non-native or invasive plant species. And obviously we don't want to put any invasive plant species in there. But on most of our projects, we have at least a minimum of 75% is non-native. You know, I don't think we ever say 100%. So I wanted to give that, is that you guys' recollection?
I thought
I think it's
75% is native.
Yes, that I don't know what I said. Yeah, that a minimum of 75% is native. But I don't think we ever say that you can't install any non-native.
Yeah.
Looking at
So do you
Let's
just
see
want that
another-
line removed, or do you want to reword it, or?
I'm just trying to see what we've done before here, if I can find an example. Yeah, here's a line. This is from 9 to 49 Homer. All planting materials are non-native species, non-invasive species, and 70% of the planting material is native species as detailed on the landscape plan. Drought-tolerant shrubs and perennials are to be provided across the site to minimize irrigation watering on the site. So maybe we just take that verbiage out. I mean, I think we could take out all of, I mean, we'd have to renumber all these, but I think we could take out this whole line about plant species. Maybe put the substantial changes to materials and form in number 3 and address the plants later on, because I think they have their own.
Yeah, there is also J, which talks about 75% of all landscaping planting shall be native species.
Yes, let's put my new thing in number 3. And we'll,
It's loading. Hold on. It's
okay. And then we'll deal with the plants in its own condition below. I hate it when it does that. When the formatting gets screwed up, I can never fix it properly.
I'll change the formatting later if we can move on.
I totally get it. So. And then, so then there's a few conditions. Few conditions noted by GCG about the future expansion and the maintenance shed, that there's no drawings for those, that those would come back.
And can I just ask a question about that? When if and when we go to build that shed, what does that look like? We just come before you and present that piece and it gets approved within the context of this site plan? Is that kind of the
Yeah,
process?
it's,
Okay,
it's just that piece.
got it. Okay, great.
Yeah. Just given that you're kind of saying something's going there, but there's nothing in the drawings that say what
Totally
it
agreed.
is.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
we got to figure that out. I just want to understand the process, so that sounds good.
Okay, so then, and then on J, who knows what it'll be, J or I, the one about, the 75%, I guess it's J or K. Yeah, so that's the one, where I have this other little sentence that we typically use. I'm going to. I'm gonna send it to Jasmine. Can I do that? And it can be either put in now or later.
It hasn't come through yet.
I just, okay, I just sent it. So I kind of said it before, but I'll say it again. So it says, all planting materials are non-invasive species, and 70% of the planting material is native species as detailed on the landscaping plan. Drought-tolerant shrubs and perennials are to be provided across the site to minimize irrigation watering on the site. It's not meant to imply, and maybe we'll tweak it. It's not meant to imply that you have to, about where you put these. It's just that we're looking for drought tolerant so that they don't have to be watered. So the next one, while we're kind of waiting for that, maybe, I wasn't sure what the next one was. Once the early learning center is constructed and operational, the site shall be inspected at least daily for refuse and debris. Is that something you put in, Jasmine, or is that a safety issue about making sure if the early learning center is open and the membership building is under construction, to make sure that the site is maintained?
It's not necessary. Honestly, this was pulled from a previous decision. So every condition in here was pulled from a previous decision that was written by this board. None of these have been things that were made up that weren't previously approved.
Okay, that would have,
yeah.
I wasn't,
Yeah, I would,
Yeah, no.
I'm surprised that we would have written that, because we are saying trash receptacles or things are screened, and here we are saying it needs to be placed on site. So it just feels a little, do we need that even?
Yeah, I think we can take it out. I
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that one. I don't know where that
Yeah.
one, I must have forgotten about it. And then the next one is just talks about the lighting. The only thing I actually added to that is that all lighting on this on site will be dark sky compliant, but I think that it was already in the project. It was already in there somewhere, but I want to say maybe even the project narrative, it was in there, so.
So this one is interesting because what if the recreational facilities are used after hours, but we're saying all the lights are turned off on the site?
I think at the present time, there's no lights in the fields.
No.
So,
Well, it's also, I mean, there probably is going to be lighting for safety from the parking lot to those, this one, right? But this one is talking about all lighting shall be turned off when the last employee vacates the premise. It feels like it a little, I think if our intention is,
That's different than dark sky compliant.
yeah, exactly.
Dark sky compliant, basically no lights shine up, but if all lights are off when people leave, those are two different things. Which there is precedence that all lights get turned off when everybody leaves is actually better for safety and security, but they are two different things.
yeah, again, so it's not something we've talked about in terms of this project. Does the YMCA have any thoughts on that? Is that what is typical for a YMCA, or is it typical everything is shut off, or is there some lights left on for safety, or?
I think it says it in here, Trish, doesn't it? That exterior lighting shall be reduced to the minimum required for safety and security, and that's our practice. You know, we turn everything down, but we shut it all down the best we can. If there's like night cleaning happening, there'd be minimal lighting to keep the cleaning crew at night able to get in and do what they need to do and get out of the. So, is that your question, really?
Yeah, yeah. So I think if that's
should we just keep that section of it, the minute from that minimum required lighting for safety, just keep that and take the rest off?
I think so.
So take the where it's from the beginning till it says 15 minutes thereafter, take off that first sentence. Is that what you're saying?
Till I think after that, when the establishments, I would take off all that language except the third line where it says the minimum required lighting for safety and security as recommended. That's all I would keep, and my recommendation was to take out everything else.
That sounds right.
Okay, I'm sorry, Deepa. I'm starting from this line, taking everything else out from here up. Oh,
Yes, that goes away until somebody else thinks otherwise. And then even in that sentence, I would take the when the establishment, all that thing off till you go up to the minimum, go up to that point and take everything off. Exactly. And then
No,
say,
but that's a fragment, so you have to be careful.
so I would say the minimum lighting for safety. I would add the minimum lighting at that point required for safety and security as recommended.
I think you still need exterior lighting. Exterior lighting shall be the minimum. I think though, I mean, isn't this saying that, I mean, we don't want to say that you can't have any more exterior lighting than is required for safety and security. What we are saying is when the establishment is closed, you have the minimum of lighting on. So I actually think when you need you need to keep it as is, starting from the when. So when the establishment is closed and nobody is there, then the lighting is reduced to the minimum required for safety and security. But that doesn't mean that's the only lighting you have. You can have lots of different lighting, but when no one's there, you reduce it for just to safety and security. Does that make sense?
I think so, Matt and Carrie, right? Am I
Yeah,
missing
that's
something?
what makes sense
Yeah.
to me. Yeah.
I would agree. I didn't want to step on the board's toes, but yes, I
Yeah,
so
agree that should be in there.
I think you can undo. I think you can
When the
undo
establishment is closed.
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
changes.
And then to your earlier point, Trisha, about like the EV chargers, like the lighting, dark sky compliant lighting is also code required, so you can take that out too, because that's,
Oh, it is?
I'm pretty confident.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, all of ours is anyway, but yeah, I'm pretty confident that's a code requirement now.
I'm so sorry. Did you say, are we taking out dark sky compliant?
I'm just saying, I
the-
think you can, because I think that's driven by the code. But no harm, no foul either way.
Yeah, we can leave it in because we haven't looked at it, but that first sentence you can take out, the all pole and building mounted,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. It's just that second sentence that says basically, hey, when the buildings are closed, you only use the amount of light that you actually really need for safety and security.
Correct.
And it might be none. It might be that everything goes off, but maybe it doesn't. So. Okay, so, and then let's see, now I'm on letter R. And I was just gonna change the word locus to site because I'm always taking out the word locus. We don't really use it anywhere else. I think it's left over from one of our old conditions. In letter T, we have hours of construction 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Is that? I think I don't remember exactly what the bylaw allows, but we'll have to be. Does that sound right? I don't remember where that is.
That does sound accurate, but I can confirm it.
Yeah, so we could just confirm. I know we don't do Sundays and holidays. So we just want to make sure that's good. Anna, do you have anything does anyone else have anything in the rest of the conditions? I'm going back to my notes, but I think that was the end of my stuff.
I just have a question about the 7 to 7 Monday through Saturday. Is that like a bylaw from Ashland, or is this just part of our requirements for them?
I think we have it somewhere in the bylaws about construction times. Yeah, I think it's in there somewhere, but I wanted to confirm that we didn't copy and paste something that had a special condition on it, you know what I mean? And that was different than the bylaws.
Carrie, is that a reasonable thing?
Yeah. 7 to 7 I can deal with. I have another project that's trying for 8 to 4 or something crazy. So
But-
yeah.
Yeah, but Trisha, to our point, I know we want to be careful. If it is not something that's a condition in our bylaws, we shouldn't put it.
Yeah, that's the
Because I remember there was I don't want it to become a challenge for a particular condition that's not really necessary for our town.
Yeah, especially if they're trying
I
to like
think-
push at the end of something, and I mean, if they're doing work inside a building, putting up drywall, and
Yeah,
it's not
it's
bothering
a large
anybody.
site as well, so there's not like they have neighbors at close proximity to put any conditions here as well.
Yeah, I
So
mean, but we
kind of getting to
always
that
have.
train station, but
We do always have hours for construction, right? That, otherwise, hey, we're gonna work 3 shifts and do it around the clock, right? We always have hours of construction. Where we got in the trouble the one time is where we put in hours of operation.
okay. Yeah,
Which
that's
is,
what it was.
yeah, which is,
You are exactly
Yeah.
thinking the same project I'm thinking.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was hours of
Yeah,
operation.
yeah. Okay.
Okay. And then there's something about the surety bond at the end, which I think Jasmine was working with Lisa, and is more in her, obviously more in her wheelhouse than mine.
Yeah,
Is
and
there
if I can just the surety piece, and I think Matt can, all we're trying to do is make sure that the surety can be triggered with the phasing, right? So if we determine, for example, that we are not going to clear all the land to do the site work day one, we don't want to provide a surety for that work until we're ready to do it, right? So if we can just tie it to, maybe tie it to that building permit process, that when we decide what we want to build, we evaluate a surety or whatever. And I think those are all part of the questions that Jasmine's working with Lisa on to get clarity.
Yes, absolutely it is.
I'm going to, let's see, I'm gonna send you another, I'm kind of looking at our former, another former
If it's
decision.
helpful, I did find the construction noises. It is confirmed in your bylaw, no construction activities between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m., right? So 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Okay,
on Sunday or federal holidays without special permission from planning and or the select board. So it looks like what you've got written is compliant.
bylaw.
And then I would assume if we got special permission, then the police department would be notified and therefore they would know how to enforce. So it all kind of ties together.
Right, right. Jasmine, did you, it sounds like in looking at things, I'm gonna send you one other condition. It's a condition about, again, looking at some of our other ones, if requested by the Department of Public Works, a rock construction entrance shall be installed to prevent sediment track out onto public roadways. We usually have that in there on a site this big. The school needed one, Mendes needed one. So on a site this big, it may be needed.
Where would you, I'm sorry, where would you like to add that?
I think it would be just under the construction,
It's under the last one here.
yeah, in the construction section.
Oh, I'm sorry, you
But-
can't see what I'm doing. I'm sorry.
That's okay. But in our typical decisions, we have some things about this approval decision shall be recorded at South Middlesex Registry, blah, blah, blah. Is that stuff we need in there? Did you look at that and say, you don't typically need this in, or do you have it in there?
On the last page, Madam Chair.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I think,
Is it chair or chairman?
yeah, let's take off
Oh.
let's take off the man part. Thank you, Deepa.
Correct.
And that goes for the vice chair too.
Yeah.
Okay. Just anything else that anyone has on there?
So we're just gonna wait for Lisa to give us input on that surety bond, which in turn may have some, as Kerry said, maybe we'll have to look at that site clearing section of it.
Why don't we also go back to that red section we left in there? There we go. maybe Anna will help us out here. Oh, unless are you actually are you
Yeah,
actually free now, Anna? Or,
yeah, I've been online
okay,
for a while.
okay.
Yeah.
So we skipped this section. We decided that the site alteration special permit, there aren't criteria for that. This is just a thing like describing the purpose of the section. And so we could probably take out the word criteria. I think I put that in there, but on the heading. But this is something I think we just need to, in a few sentences, summarize, because obviously all of these things we've talked about as criteria in special permit, in site plan review, in design plan review. But we wanted to include something here about some verbiage about approving the site alteration special permit. So
Is it concerned that it's too long as is the red?
well, this is the exact words from the bylaw. This isn't the
Mhm.
planning board speaking,
Gotcha.
right? So
So we need to turn this into actual language where we believe we have addressed these 4 items.
yeah, we're talking about something like the planning board considered in considering the natural resources, natural topography. I'm pulling out things in these functions.
Yeah, I
What,
mean,
what, can we just say the planning board use the following criteria in approval of this process or something? Like, and just leave it like that?
So I think the way to frame it is the planning board has reviewed the criteria in section 5.8.1 A through D and recognizes that the applicant has addressed every single one of those points. And then I would probably highlight that the applicant has made substantial effort to preserve and honor the natural topography of the site. The design of the site is taking into consideration the natural scenic beauty of the location. It's clear that that is the applicant's intent. We're essentially highlighting that we've reviewed these criteria, they are met, and we're highlighting the applicant's efforts in recognizing and honoring the scenic beauty of the site and preserving. I know I'm saying a lot. Sorry, Jasmine, if that's
No,
too
you're
fast.
okay.
I can try to write it and send it to you if that helps.
Yeah, why don't you do that,
That
Anna?
might be, yeah.
But I would actually change like in 2.4, puts site alteration special permit, but take out the word criteria because there aren't criteria in the same way that there are in other sections. And then what you already have in blue, I think we can say the planning board has reviewed the purpose of the site alteration special permit. So we're really using the language of the bylaw. And then whatever Anna comes up with, because she's usually good on the fly for things like this.
Yeah. Just don't delete the red stuff because I'm writing and
Yeah.
sending you the email based on this.
And conservation's already done, right?
Correct.
I do think it might be helpful since the applicant is listening to this. If the applicant is willing to kind of list, I can certainly list them off on my own, but to me, there are particular elements of the site that are honoring the natural landscape. For example, the outdoor fields are meant to create that open space. there's also intentional open space for the public to enjoy. Those are two things I can come up with on my own. Are there others that the applicant would like to highlight that might relate to this section?
I would add the maintaining the natural forested buffer in all areas possible.
And I believe you also designed some outdoor classroom spaces, is that right?
That is envisioned for, yeah, for the Nature's Edge area, yeah.
And I'm sorry, that's called the Nature's Edge?
Nature's Edge is what we've been calling, or, you know, the back yard area, which would be the, you know, what the public could enjoy. Walking trails.
Okay, I'm just gonna clean this up really quick and send it to Jasmine, and then the board can see it. 1 second.
Okay, and I don't see anyone, well, I can't see the whole board right now. I don't see anyone out there, but if anyone who has been lurking out there and has a public comment about the YMCA, the public hearing is still open. So, but like I said, I can't see who might be on our audience. So I assume no public comment. And then just so people know what's coming, we will, if there's no other,
All right, I'm sending this to Jasmine now, and let's see if this works for the board. Jasmine, you should have that in about 2 seconds.
Thank you.
I mean, I can
Yes.
read it while you're waiting for it.
sure, why don't you read it while it shows?
Yeah, the planning board recognizes the applicant's commitment to preserving the site's natural beauty and topography. The applicant is clearly inspired by the location as reflected in several design elements. For example, the applicant is dedicated to maintaining the natural forested buffer wherever possible and has created outdoor classroom spaces in the Nature's Edge area. In addition, the plan includes outdoor fields intended to highlight the natural landscape along with walking trails. Finally, the project provides areas for the public to picnic and enjoy the space.
Great.
But I think you wanna first mention, Jasmine, that the planning board has reviewed the
Yeah.
requirements of section 5.8.1 A through D, believes those have been met, and then that language is then our indication how this has been met. Right?
Yeah, yeah, and believes that the purpose of the section has been, but the planning board
Has
has
been met.
reviewed the purpose of the purpose of site alteration special permit and believes and I guess they're not, so again, they're not conditions, the conditions maybe have been met.
The only other thing we might want to add, and I don't know, Deepa and Tricia, what you think as architects and designers, but the building itself has what I would describe as a very open to nature aesthetic, right? There's large kind of, from what I recall in the design elements, there's very large windows or open space that essentially looks out into nature, right? And from what I recall, there's also elements of material that's being used as a reflection of the outdoor space. So we could also add a couple sentences on that if you agree with me.
I think it just has less to do with the
outdoor space.
site alteration.
Understood. Okay.
So I was kind of sticking with things that are about the site.
Yep. Okay,
And
then I think,
my one small suggestion is where we say has created outdoor classroom, I would say has proposed outdoor
Proposed, that's fine.
classroom. Because that's probably still in part of their phasing.
Correct. Yeah, I was
Yep.
gonna mention that. Thank you.
Carrie, are there other elements you want to add to this?
Not really as it relates to site.
Okay,
Not that I can think of. I think those are the big
the
ones.
key. Yep, okay, great.
And one minor edit, the A through D, I know that's how it came through on this decision. It's actually 1 through 4 in the bylaw.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was just a formatting issue. Thank you.
So then we still have to say, and believes and feels these conditions have been met. Or that could be at the end too. The planning board finds these conditions have been met. Or the planning board finds this purpose has been fulfilled, something like that. Okay. So any other comments that anyone has that we missed or that you want to review, rehash? Okay. Then I think Jasmine obviously will go through and we can delete the rest of that red down there, Jasmine. We can take all that out, the actual verbiage from the bylaw. Yeah, so all that red down there can just come out. So Jasmine obviously will get this all formatted, which is pretty close to being there anyway. It's just hard to do that final stuff. It'll need to, I believe, just probably have Lisa Mead give it a final pass once it's formatted. It seems like it's mostly the same. But I would suggest that we close the public hearing. So we need to close the public hearing first. And then we can take a vote on this contingent upon Lisa Mead's final review. Does that sound good with everybody?
Madam Chair, if I may, I want to make sure, because the surety issue is still somewhat open-ended and our team will potentially play a part in that discussion.
Mhm.
I'm hesitant to have you close the public meeting if that's going to preclude us from speaking at all at the next hearing. I know some boards,
Okay.
as applicant is forbidden as well once the public hearing's closed.
Right.
So I might be hesitant to go forward that way in case we need to weigh in on the surety at the final hearing.
Okay. So would you suggest that we do not close the public hearing? We can't vote until we can take a preliminary vote if that would be helpful for you as to where we stand. And then we will continue till April 9th. Is that the preferred route? And then Lisa you guys can complete those details into something that's mutually agreeable between.
Yeah, I think, Jasmine, have you had any, I know you were trying to check with both Mike Carter from GCG and Lisa about next Wednesday, maybe? I just want to make sure we can get that meeting scheduled and get through that.
So I did get some feedback from Lisa late this afternoon, but I can share that after the meeting. So she does not anticipate, she's not in the office next Wednesday at all.
Okay.
She has something that came up, so.
And is that, like, I'm not sure how your arrangement with her works. Like, I mean, we could do this virtually if she's working and just not in
No,
Ashland.
she's not available to Ashland on that day. That's
Okay.
her day that she works with us. She's not available to us next Wednesday.
Okay, all right, so yeah, let us know. I mean, obviously, I don't know if that means she is available on another day, but we'll make it work on our end if you can get her. We just want to get this closed.
Yeah, maybe if she's not available that day, maybe she'll make herself available at other times so that we can get this taken care of.
Yes,
If
I'll
that's her,
certainly follow up after the meeting with an email.
yeah,
Thank
if
you.
that's her regular day. So with everything the town has going on, I assume that she's she or someone else at her office, perhaps. Depending on how they distribute, the load would be, I assume would be available, so. Okay, so we'll leave the public hearing open. We will not take a final vote until we can't until we can close the public hearing. But I will just for the benefit of the why, I will ask the board members that we will take an informal vote on this decision, informal vote starting with Deepa.
Deepa Venkatai.
Anna Tesmanitsky, aye. I do want to add, however, that the first few pages we did not review with me on this call. So if there's a way to kind of informally summarize what you guys changed about the first.
Oh, sure.
half
Yeah,
pages.
sorry, I did intend to do that.
Sorry. Yep.
So the blue is the additions.
Yep.
That
That's
we
fine.
made.
Keep going. I just want to make sure I'm agreeing to something I'm fully aware
Yeah,
of.
no,
That-
you
that
did,
blue
we
on
did,
the
I
front
did say
page.
that and I forgot, so
Yeah,
I
no, that's okay.
apologize.
I have read these ahead of time, but just let me glance at the blue. And so Jasmine, I'm seeing that blue. Keep going. No problem with that. That seems very minor change. Okay. One word there, that's fine. Hold on. Got it. So these are kind of what I would call cleanup changes. All right, keep going. Yep, no problem there. Looks good to me. We can keep going. One word, got it, okay. And that's what we just discussed.
Your verbiage. There might be some after that, though. I
Gotcha.
don't remember when you came in.
Yep,
You want to keep scrolling, Jasmine?
yep, keep
Are you
scrolling.
stuck?
Yep,
Oh,
the rest of it, I think we're now on the same page.
that you were there? Okay.
Yep, so we're good. So I will stand by my vote of aye, I guess informally. Is that
Okay.
what we're doing? Yep, we're good. Thank you.
All right, so I think we're at Scott.
Jeff Pelletier, aye.
And Paul Montesino, aye.
And because she's here, Angel,
Angel Kazadian, aye.
all right, and Trisha Kendall, aye. So there you would have it. If we could vote 6, you would have 6 on our informal vote. So given that looks like this is as far as we can come today, does the applicant have any other questions you want to throw at us? That we need, anything else we need to address besides having town council look at it and the surety?
I think on our end, that's it. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Yeah, thank you all. Good progress.
All right.
Much
Then,
appreciated.
all right, then I will make.
Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome. I will make a motion that we continue 30 Memorial Drive YMCA to April 9th. Is there a
Second that.
second? Okay,
Second that.
and a roll call vote?
Deepa Venkatai.
Anna Tesmanitsky, aye.
Jeff Pelletier, aye.
Paul Montesino, aye.
And Trisha Kendall, aye. So we're continuing to April 9th and assume we will wrap this up at that time.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Have a good one.
All right,
Good night.
thank you. Okay. So,